Whether you're looking at a huge cattle ranch or a wildlife conservation project, there's one challenge that's universal. How do you tell one animal from another? Well, today we're jumping into the world of animal identification. It's a practice that's grown from super simple marks to some really sophisticated tech, and it's absolutely essential for modern agriculture. So, picture this. You're standing in front of a field with hundreds of cows that, let's be honest, all look pretty much the same. You need the health records for just one of them. How in the world do you find it? This one simple question gets right to the heart of why animal ID isn't just a nice to have. It is absolutely critical. So, okay, why go through all the trouble of giving an animal its own unique ID, often right after it's born? The answer is pretty straightforward. That one little act, creating that unique identity, is the foundation for literally everything that comes next in that animal's life. And look, this is about so much more than just telling animals apart. It's really all about the data. A unique ID lets you track everything, and I mean everything, from milk production and vet records to its entire breeding history. And that data? That's the key to improving an entire herd over time. For purebred herds where everyone's a lookalike, it's pretty much the only way to keep those all-important genetic records straight. All the methods we're going to talk about really fall into two big buckets. You've got your non-permanent methods, which you can think of them like a temporary name tag you'd wear at a conference. Super useful for a little while, but they're not meant to last forever. And then you have permanent methods. These are the real deal, a lifelong signature that becomes an unchangeable part of that animal's identity. So these non-permanent options are things you've probably seen, like simple ear tags, neck chains, or even marking paints. And they're great for short-term stuff, sorting animals or for when they're really young. But the key word here is temporary. Tags get ripped out, straps break, paint fades away, and just like that, you've got an unidentified animal on your hands. All right, let's move on to the permanent solutions, starting with the classic methods that have been around for, well, centuries. These are the tried and true techniques that physically mark the animal, creating an identifier that is designed to last a lifetime. First up is tattooing. And yep, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. A special tool pierces the skin, usually on the inside of the ear where it's protected from the sun and wear, and applies a permanent ink. It's a really discreet but super effective way to give an animal its own unique code. The kit for tattooing is pretty straightforward. You've got the pliers, a bunch of interchangeable metal digits for numbers and letters, and of course the ink. Here's a fascinating little detail though. For pretty much all animals, black ink is recommended because it gives the best contrast. The only exception? Animals that already have black skin. Now let's talk branding, which actually comes in two totally opposite forms, hot and cold. Hot branding uses intense heat to destroy the hair follicles themselves, which creates a permanent bald scar. But freeze branding, it's way more subtle. It uses extreme cold to destroy only the cells that produce pigment, so the hair follicle is fine, but any hair that grows back from that spot will be white for the rest of the animal's life. With hot branding, your technique is absolutely everything. The temperature of the iron is so important. It shouldn't be glowing red hot, but instead heated to the color of gray ashes. The application itself is really quick, just 3 to 5 seconds, and you're aiming for a final mark the color of saddle brown leather. That precision is what creates a clear, permanent brand without causing too much damage. Freeze branding demands that same level of precision, but here the focus isn't just on temperature, it's on time. And the timing varies a lot depending on the animal. A full-grown cow might need up to 30 seconds of contact with that liquid nitrogen-chilled iron. A young horse, on the other hand, only about 6 to 12 seconds. It's a delicate science, really, and it gets adjusted for the animal's species, its age, and even how thick its skin is. And get this, the material of the iron itself makes a huge difference. For freeze branding, you really want an iron made from a copper or bronze alloy. Why? Well, it's because those metals are way, way better at holding and transferring that intense cold compared to just regular steel. That's what ensures you get a crisp, clear, white hair brand. All right, so we've covered the old school marks. Now let's completely switch gears and head into the digital age. Electronic identification, or EID, is a massive leap forward. It basically turns an animal into a data point that you can read in the blink of an eye. At the very heart of this system is something called a transponder, but you and I would just call it a microchip. The most important thing to get here is that it's passive. That means it has no battery, no power source of its own. It just lies dormant, totally asleep, until a reader sends out a specific radio wave that wakes it up just long enough for it to shout its unique number back. The whole process is just brilliantly simple. The reader sends out a signal, the transponder wakes up and replies with its ID number, and the reader displays it. It's like a completely contactless digital handshake that happens in a fraction of a second. It's a pretty much foolproof way to identify an animal. And these transponders are super versatile. They can come in the form of an electronic ear tag, looks a lot like a normal one, but it's got a chip inside. They can be a tiny little implant, about the size of a grain of rice that's just inserted under the skin. Or for animals like cattle, they can even be housed inside a ceramic pill called a bolus, which the animal swallows and it just stays in their stomach for life. But here's where this gets really powerful. The ID number itself is just the beginning. It's what that number can connect to that's the real game changer. A single scan can automatically log an animal's weight as it walks across a scale, or record how much milk it produced in the parlor, or even track its food intake. It creates this seamless flow of data from the field all the way to the processing plant, giving you a level of traceability we've never had before. So, we've talked about everything from hot irons and tattoo ink to passive microchips. With all these different options on the table, which one is the absolute best? Well, as it turns out, the answer isn't quite that simple. And honestly, this quote from our source material just says it all perfectly. There is no single best method. The right choice is going to depend on the animal, the environment, the kind of management system you have, and what your goals are. It all comes down to picking the right tool for that very specific job. And that brings us to one last thought. We've gone from simple physical marks on the skin to digital IDs that are linked to these massive databases. As our farms get smarter and technology keeps accelerating, what's next? Are we going to see facial recognition for livestock? Or maybe real-time biometric monitoring becomes the new standard? I don't know, but one thing is for sure. The story of animal identification is far from over.